This is Nasha Kasha, Ukrainian Almanac, 28 minutes of stories for everyone about Ukrainian life. Nasha Kasha is heard on 19 campus and community radio stations from Newfoundland to British Columbia. I'm your reporter, Stefan Andrusiak, and this is episode 222, the Back to School edition. In today's episode of Nasha Kasha, we will hear educators from east to west and across the education spectrum, from kindergarten to postgraduate teaching, as schools resume or are about to resume teaching in the face of a pandemic. We begin in New Brunswick, where a professor of astronomy took time out from preparing a graduate student for a thesis defense to send us this message about the resumption of classes at his French-speaking university.
My name is Victor Halak. I work for Université de Moncton and give some courses in physics and astrophysics. So I was asked to provide some information about the peculiarities of a new semester that's going to start in our university in the time of pandemic because of COVID-19. So semester will start soon, and it will be quite challenging for professors and for students, especially for the first year students that have to adjust themselves to learn how to study properly using the online tools. This will be a challenge as well for the professors because we need to prepare our courses to deliver useful information, though it will be given online, but to deliver this directly and personally to each student that participates in the course. But we already have some experience how to organize those courses because we already started to do this in the end of last semester when COVID-19 pandemic has only started here in Canada. So for students of the third, second, and fourth year, it will be more easy. But we work hard in this direction to make it more interesting for all students to study during this semester. And I believe it will be quite interesting for professors as well. I wish you all the best and to be healthy in this year and the next as well. Victor Halak for Nasha Kasha.
Just before completing this program, I learned that Dr. Halak's student, Alexander Kobzar, did successfully defend his thesis, titled The Detection and Analysis of Chemically Peculiar Magnetic Stars. Congratulations. A star in Ukrainian is a zirka. Here's the band, Zirka.
Banduri steor lesizi. Dobry тобі, браті, маєш крила, маєш силу, коли літати. Маєш крила, маєш...
My name is Morris Hutzel. I live in Stony Creek, Ontario, which is part of the City of Hamilton. I am a superintendent of education employed with the Hamilton Wentworth Catholic District School Board. Schools, not only in Hamilton Wentworth, but schools across the province and across the country, really, and around the world, are taking all the steps possible to create a safe learning environment for students and staff. The Hamilton Wentworth Catholic District School Board has been planning for the safe return to in-school learning in the age of COVID-19. Despite the provincial mandate on July 30th announcing the return to conventional learning for elementary students and a hybrid delivery model for secondary students, the school reopening will be far from conventional as we know it. What we hope to provide is a school year that is as close to normal as possible while ensuring the health, safety, and well-being of our students and staff. I have been an educator, a Catholic educator, for 30 years. Never in that time as a elementary school teacher, a elementary vice principal, a system principal, an assistant superintendent, and now in my role as a supervisory officer of education, have I ever experienced anything like what we have gone through since the ministry closed schools back in March. So the challenge is, how do we start off this school year in September with all the uncertainty? We spent a long time surveying parents and listening to their concerns. we have been having ongoing discussions with public health in order to provide a parent guide for the reopening of our schools to help parents and students dealing with a lot of the uncertainty and anxiety that they may have. Because what we do know is that students must return to school. Their wellness and their well-being is very important. Any decisions that are made are done with obvious safety protocols in mind. Obviously, we are working with enhanced health and safety protocols and clearly delineated protocols and procedures in the event of an outbreak. Another important theme is the need for children to return to in-class learning. There's a huge focus on mental health and well-being. We need to also keep in mind the education of those students with special education needs. We've planned for 3 models: regular in-person learning, where students return to school with physical distancing and enhanced health and safety protocols; an adaptive learning model, so with smaller than usual class sizes, students receive partial learning in person at school and partial learning at home. Our high schools will begin with this model. And of course, at-home learning with remote delivery, so it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning at home. Another challenge is the creation of a virtual school for those students who will not be returning to face-to-face learning or hybrid learning. Working with our staffs, ensuring that they also feel safe. I need to also portray myself as someone who is knowledgeable about what is happening, yet there is uncertainty. And how do I as a leader prepare for that? And how do I support those staff whom I'm called to serve? And that students will be back in schools learning and working with their classmates and trying to return to as normal a learning environment as is possible.
Tam szerokim poli woja, synyje mory.
The song says, "Over there are the wide fields and the blue sea. You have wings, you have strength, my brother, and the space in which to fly." Morris Hutzel, who you just heard from, is also the band leader and singer for this band, Zirka. This selection is called Banduriste Orle Sizi. It's about a musician who, if he so chooses, can also be a gray eagle.
My name is Vera Coral, and I'm a retired elementary school teacher with the Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board. Normally, going back to school is a time of great excitement. Most teachers can hardly wait to get back. Now, however, I'd be full of apprehension. The following are some of the issues that teachers must grapple with due to COVID-19. Having taught kindergarten, grade 1, 5, and 6, I would say the most daunting challenge will be the kindergarten class. The current pedagogy in early childhood education is play-based learning, done entirely in groups with students learning by interacting and sharing with each other. Normally, the day starts with students sitting shoulder to shoulder on a carpet facing the teacher as they discuss the weather, dates, events, etc. All this would need to be revised. A whole new method of teaching would need to be developed. Until routines are established and the kindergartens have overcome their separation anxiety, they often cry and need to be consoled, which makes social distancing virtually impossible. Despite all the new safety measures, the reality is that children are often not mindful and in some cases cannot control themselves during emotional outbursts. They invariably forget the rules when distracted or angry. The masks will come off, potentially jeopardizing everyone. In the higher grades, implementing social distancing and creating a classroom bubble is important. But what good is this if children are not in the same bubble going to and from school when either walking or being bused? As a teacher librarian, keeping books germs-free by wiping every cover down and ensuring they're not loaned out for at least 2 days would be challenging. Expanding outdoor learning opportunities is an interesting proposition currently being discussed. Children love being outdoors and therefore may become more fully engaged, which would enhance their learning. However, I think that some sort of flat roof pergola that blocks 95% of harmful radiation, rain, and snow would need to be constructed to shelter everyone from the elements. Countries such as Italy and South Korea that have flattened the curve and have reopened are now experiencing a resurgence of COVID cases. I'm concerned about the students that commonly travel all over the world on family vacations, especially to Europe, India, China, and the Philippines. Will they quarantine for 2 weeks after a holiday and miss more school? Other issues that concern me are class sizes and the school ventilation systems. The air quality in the older schools is simply horrible, and wearing masks all day will only add to the misery and compound the problem. Many classrooms are simply too small to adequately space the current cap of 20 students 2 meters apart. Furniture will have to be removed to squeeze in the desks. Some issues that haven't been discussed in the media regarding the Catholic boards are the church masses that are held in the school gyms throughout the year. The whole school is present for these religious events, and they would need to be curtailed in addition to other special events, such as French cafes, movie nights, scholastic book fairs, fundraising drives, rallies, etc. It's shaping up to be a back-to-basics school year without all the very popular events that children really look forward to. In summary, I'd have to say that even though school boards have protocols in place to deal with this pandemic, I'd be ambivalent about returning to the classroom. Even with health and safety training for teachers that includes information on screening and symptoms of COVID-19 and isolation rooms for children that get sick at school, the fear of contagion is ever present.
Vera Corol spoke from her home just west of Toronto. And here is her cousin, Evan Wish. Like Vera, Evan was born in Manitoba. He is a longtime resident of Los Angeles. This composition is the title track from a 2020 album, Alone in a Crowd. Nasha Kasha comes to you from Radio Western, 94.9 FM on the campus of Western University in London, Ontario, Canada. We're heard on CHMR 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland, on CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax, on Local 107.3 FM in St. John, New Brunswick, on CJAS Radio 93.5 FM in Saint Augustine, Quebec, on CJLO 1690 AM in Montreal, on CFRC 101.9 FM in Kingston, on CFMU 93.3 FM in Hamilton, on CKMS 102.7 FM in Kitchener-Waterloo, on CJAM 99.1 FM in Windsor and Detroit, on CKLU 96.7 FM in Sudbury, on CILU 102.7 FM in Thunder Bay, on 101.5 UMFM in Winnipeg, on CJTR 91.3 FM in Regina, on CFMQ 98.1 FM in Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, on CFBX 92.5 FM in Kamloops, on CIVL 101.7 FM in Abbotsford, on CJSF 90.1 FM in Vancouver, and on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo, British Columbia.
Привіт! Bonjour! Мене звати Vera Kapustянська. My name is Vera Kapp from Akron, Ohio. My degree is in secondary education, specializing in French and Russian. Unfortunately, I only gave private lessons in Russian to a few very curious students. I have taught in public schools, but my last 12 years were in an all-girls private high school here in Akron. I was head of the foreign language department for 10 years, and that included 2 Spanish teachers, 1 Latin, and 1 French teacher. me. Walking into my classroom was a total French experience, with French posters on all the walls, French magazines and artifacts and photos. I not only used the textbooks for each level, but we also had a repertoire of contemporary and folk songs, Christmas carols, and hymns. We were often asked to sing a hymn or two for Mass. Along with grammar, introduction to art, foods, culture, and history, for example, like World War II in France and the Resistance, were paramount to a complete understanding of French life. Therefore, I often wonder how my colleagues prep for 6 classes a day on Zoom. They tell me it's exhausting, but they try their hardest to give the students a proper learning experience. But Zoom cannot replace the interaction between students and their teachers. Fortunately, all Catholic and private schools in Akron will be open for learning as of August 24th, 2020. I wish them all the best. I do miss the anticipation of starting a new school year. I miss teaching. I miss seeing the girls every day and listening to their many teen problems. I miss the trips to France with a busload of students and parents as we traveled about. And I miss consulting with my colleagues in our department. There was a warm camaraderie there which cannot be replaced easily. I now fill my time with singing and music, writing pisanke by the dozens, and catching up on reading all the books I had no time to read. Au revoir, до побачення.
Ти згадай той час і порожній клас. Щастя поруч зовсім близько вже чекало нас. Він хором кружляв, прощальний вальс шкільний. В той чарівний вечір випускний. В той чарівний вечір випускний. Прощальний бал з дитинством нас прощав. Уперше я тебе поцілував. Що всіх нас жде, тоді ніхто не знав. Ніхто не знав. Вальс нас кружляв, кружляв, кружляв. Вальс нас кружляв, кружляв, кружляв. Вальс нас кружляв, кружляв, кружляв.
That was Shkilnei Bal, the school dance, singer Serhii Rudko.
My name is Andrew Stabelski from Windsor, Ontario. I am a high school teacher with the Greater Essex County District School Board, where I teach at Tecumseh Vista Academy Secondary School. I teach grade 11 Canadian Law, grade 12 International Law, and grade 12 World History since the 15th century. When COVID-19 fell upon our community from the time of March break, we had to shift our school to an online virtual world. And it was a bit of a challenge for all of us at the start as we adjusted to the new situation. And most teachers were calling students at home to address any technical issues they had in trying to ensure that they had access to online resources. We also called them and also to help provide them with assistance in learning concepts that were being taught, especially when they were not getting it, and also just to see how they were doing and making sure they were okay. As teachers began to learn and utilize their online learning platforms, we used something called Edsby and Microsoft Teams. This is where we were able to upload lessons, make videos, and allow students to access them, and they could work at their own pace. And we call that asynchronous learning. When synchronous learning happens, that's when students are assigned a time and we give them the access link, then all the whole class is in attendance online, and therefore the teacher can talk to the students. We can have class discussions. There's Q&A going on, and also an opportunity for a teacher to demonstrate certain skills or a concept. As we approach going back to school in September, We're going to be using what is called an adapted in-school day model. It's basically teacher-directed learning that takes place in person in the school, and so asynchronous learning would take place at home on alternate days. So basically, students will be split into an A cohort and a B cohort for that particular class, whereby the A cohort is going to attend every Monday, Thursday, and alternating Wednesday, and the B cohort will attend every Tuesday, Friday, and alternating Wednesday. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a complication, but in order to ensure safety of students and the teacher, we have to find a way to do this. Now, if the communities are facing another COVID spike and we have to shut down the school for whatever reason, if things spread like that, then we all have to go work online completely. So that's why we have these alternatives, measures in place so that in the days when things are going well, we can be physically at the school, but we maintain our social distancing, and I wear my PPE, which will be a face mask, perhaps a shield and gloves, and keeping our distance. So that's essentially what I anticipate back to school will be like. But the coming days, as we get closer, teachers are going to be involved in professional development days at the school in preparation as to the details as to how we're going to implement our programs.
I'm Marika Derkach-Pasichko. Currently, I'm a visual arts teacher at a Winnipeg high school in Manitoba. My art program encompasses grade 7 to 12 art curriculum, as well as programming for special needs students. As with everywhere else in Canada, there's a grave concern about COVID and the return to school. Even once the school year is in full swing, there will still be a constant concern about the spread of COVID. However, school administrators are doing their utmost to guarantee the safety of students as well as staff. Unfortunately, certain school programs might be temporarily put on hold or adapted to online learning, specifically the performing and visual arts. Currently, these courses are considered to be high risk for spreading COVID, and rightly so. With choir, drama, and band, there is the issue of breath projection and the lack of social distancing. In the case of the visual arts, the sharing of various materials and tools could also spread COVID. The visual arts and guitar and band can be modified for online learning, but this is at the discretion of administration. With respect to choir and drama, these subjects could be put temporarily on hold until it's safe to reintroduce them. As a result, the teachers concerned could be redirected to teach other subjects for the time being. This whole situation is disheartening for teachers and students alike. School participation in the visual arts is not only about creating art on an individual basis. What is lacking, or what will be lacking, is the classroom group discussions amongst students and teachers with respect to exploring the possibilities of different themes and ideas that could be relevant to the making of art. What will also be missing is the contribution the visual arts make to the school culture and its environment. Regular school displays and annual art exhibits are looked forward to by all students in the community alike. But for now, they're going to be relegated to virtual art exhibits that hopefully everybody else will be able to access. This is a chaotic time, and hopefully it'll end sooner than later. But at this point, teachers, students, and parents need to adapt to a different form of learning about the arts, and unfortunately, mainly through the use of technology. Thank you.
Коли опустилися руки, коли потемніло в очах, не знаєш ти, як далі бути, на що сподіватись хоча б, не можеш, не віриш, не знаєш, не маєш куди утікти, і кажуть, чудес не буває, та мусиш для себе знайти. Допоки сонце сяє, поки вода тече, надія є. Лиха біда минає.
Pravit. Greetings. My name is Markiana Sinkar-Hirschuk, and I teach a grade 1-2 combined with the Edmonton Catholic School Division in Edmonton, Alberta. This is a very unsure time, and plans are just being made by schools and school divisions. Everyone has been working very hard with very little money. We're trying to piece everything together and how it will work. Parents have a choice of in-person or online learning for their child. They can change every 10 weeks as the year has been split into quarters. We'll also be teaching the same thing at the same time to support this. We teachers go back August 31st and my grade 1-2 students September 3rd. How do I feel? Well, I love teaching and I love my little students. I'm excited to be back in person. I've been preparing throughout the summer as most teachers do. I've spent days setting up my class. However, I am unsure, worried. I feel in limbo. I'm worried about the children feeling and being safe. I'm not sure whether I feel safe. I worry about my family and the families of my students. Some of our students live 3 generations in their homes. Everyone has been very careful and now will be at school. A big place with many others. I do not feel that our Alberta government has provided enough financial support for safety. They have not thought this through. The classes are regularly large everywhere across the province. I cannot social distance 24 grade 1 tours sitting in 4s at little round tables. In primary classes, children do not sit in rows. It's not how we teach. So we are problem solving. My wonderful AP is making dividers for our tables. We are all working together and helping one another. In the early grades, we do a lot of hands-on and group work. This is how children learn best. I have centers for math and language arts. Now I'll need to do it another way. There'll be no story time on the carpet, as carpets have been removed. I'm a seasoned teacher with 41 years of experience teaching kinder through high school. This will be my most challenging year. We have to be prepared for anything and everything and be very flexible. Can we do it? You bet we can. We will take every precaution and try to make our children feel very comfortable and safe. We will use a variety of strategies. We'll try to make learning fun and exciting as always. After all, we are teachers.
You're listening to Vadim Krasnooki and Mad Heads XL, the song Nadia Ye. It means there is hope. I gratefully acknowledge that Nasha Kasha is supported in part by the Shevchenko Foundation and by the Ukrainian Credit Union. This is your reporter Stefan Andrusiak. Back in a week, God willing. До милої зустрічі. За тиждень часу, дорогі слухачі.